everybody, new video from Big Apple Pipes. This week I wanted to review a tobacco that has a very nice reputation. It's very well appreciated both in Europe and the United States, but still is not a real unicorn. Yes, I saw online people stocking up on this tobacco, and it's actually also always selling out pretty fast on retailers. However, it's not very easy. So, sorry, it's not very difficult to find it because I mean the stock is always back pretty quickly. The tobacco is the Salty Dogs, and I mean it's about it's a tobacco to which I really have this positive affection. I don't know, just the label. It's so beautiful. It really makes me happy. In general, I like plug tobacco, so I was very curious to try it. I got a couple of pouch. One is aging because I mean it's plug tobacco and it's a vapor. It's a Virginia Perique, so there is definitely some aging potential. And the one I really wanted to smoke it fresh, just to have an idea about what it is all about. What made me very curious about this tobacco? It's his name and the description, because this is Salty Dogs and it's written here traditional Navy style plug tobacco. So both the name and the description really tells you everything about this tobacco. This is tobacco that is inspired to the tobacco that was smoked back in the days by sailormen. I'm thinking about, I don't know, the 18th centuries. Therefore, it's really a tobacco of the sailormen, not of the officer, not of the people on the ground, really what was smoked on a boat during the weeks out in the ocean. So that's why it's called Salty Dogs. That's a nickname that sailormen had. Dogs because, of course, their reputation was not very positive, and salty because, of course, after weeks in the ocean, they were covered with salt, if you can imagine. And it's a traditional Navy style in the sense that in that period, tobacco was transported from the United States to Europe, and it was pressed into barrel to, facilitate the transportation, to have, to reduce the volume. And actually, doing this, they discovered the flavoring of the tobacco with whiskey or rum. They were using old rum barrels, they were filling it with tobacco, they were pressing it, and after the weeks of the transportation, of the shipping, they found out the tobacco got this flavor, which was also very nice, very appreciated, and therefore then they started making it until to our days we still have rum and whiskey flavored tobaccos. The particular cut of this tobacco, it's a plug, and it's a plug because sailors on the boat, they used to have, and it's exactly for the easiness of use, they had this brick of tobacco in their pocket at all times. So whenever they had a few minutes, they just wanted to smoke while they were working, or like they were, looking in the how it is showed in the label. They were doing, the view. They were checking. What can I say? They had this brick of tobacco in their pocket, and whenever they wanted to smoke, they were just taking it out, cutting a few slices from with the knife, filling it, put it in the pipe, and just smoking it. And when it was raining or there was a thunderstorm, so smoking a pipe was not very easy because you had water and wind. Instead, they were just taking out the same brick, they were chewing out of it, and they were just chewing tobacco. So it was really a double use tobacco in the pipe or chewing. So what you wanted to have was a very flavorful tobacco, very nice both to chew it or to smoke it, and that could last the weeks and stay moist. So the plug cut is perfect. But let's now have a look at this tobacco, and then I will tell you a little bit more about how it actually tastes like, because I've been smoking this only exclusively this tobacco for the past week. So as you can see now, it's almost gone. Let's have a look. So here it is. I just wanted to show you how it looks like before I finish smoking it, because I forgot to do the English version at the beginning. So you see the package is pretty blank. There is just this sticker, which is very cool. You have this beautiful, sailors smoking instead of looking at the sea. So Salty Dogs traditional Navy style black tobacco. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing telling anything about the store or the content. So this is what remained. It's about half the plug that it's inside. As you can see, it's very dark. It's not really moist, but when you cut it, you can notice that it's super greasy. You have to leave it a few minutes before actually loading it and lighting up the pipe, because otherwise it's very difficult. It has a very pleasant smell of tobacco. You don't notice the sweetness of the rum, the alcoholic topping. So that means it's very, very well made. And I will tell you in a bit how actually tastes like when you smoke it. So again, this is just probably half or a little bit over a third of what it was originally. It's a much bigger plug. This is what remained, you know. I cut it and cut it and cut it and smoke it. I will let you know how it is, but this is how it looks like. Very, very dark and nice. Very inviting. Very, very, very nice. So as you may have noticed, it's a pretty dark tobacco. I was actually expecting something different. I was expecting something more brownish, let's say, and definitely something more sweet with a more pronounced rum or sweet or alcoholish flavor anyway. Instead, we got this very black, very dark tobacco, and it is also quite different than my expectation also during the smoking experience. So I was expecting something more sweet, more mild, but I found out a much darker and stronger tobacco. And then, I was smoking it, and the more I smoked it, and the more I realized that it actually makes perfect sense if we're talking about a traditional never sell tobacco. Because if you ever had the chance to smoke in a windy environment or on a boat, the wind takes out a lot of flavors. So if you are smoking a light tobacco, you're actually just having, I don't know, almost nothing in your mouth. The flavor is not there. You can maybe detect some smokiness, but that's it, nothing more. So what you wanted to have was a tobacco that had a strong flavor, so you can still taste it. And also in this kind of windy environment, you don't really need a complex tobacco that has a lot of evolution and a lot of different notes that you have to be concentrated to detect. You wanted a very straightforward tobacco that gives you everything it has to give quite immediately, but it's still nice and flavorful and tasteful. And this is really what this is all about. So they say it's a Virginia with a pinch of Perique with a rum topping. The Virginia is there. I think maybe a stoved or toasted Virginia. I don't know because it's very dark, very cocoa, very nutty, very earthy. And the Perique, I don't think it's a pinch. I think it's a little bit more because you definitely have that smokiness and that spiciness of the Perique, which is very well balanced. It's never biting on your tongue, but it's that little spiciness. It's very, very enjoyable. The rum, it's really undetectable, so it's a very well made because it's not ghosting your pipe. And I actually only noticed this sweetness of the rum on the very last third of the bowl. So when you get to the last, it starts getting sweeter and sweeter, which is very, very nice. In addition to that, it's also a pretty strong tobacco in terms of body. It's definitely a middle to strong level, and it's very strong in nicotine. Not very strong, but strong in nicotine. So I started smoking it in middle bowl, also big bowls, and I achieved two things mainly. First of all, it's very moist, it's very greasy, so it burns very, very slowly, and therefore what happens is that with a big bowl, it lasts forever. Second thing is that I got kicked by nicotine very badly. Therefore, I started moving towards smaller bowls, and at the end of the day, I got the most out of it with those Group 1 Daniels. I really enjoyed it in this kind of small bowls for two reasons. First of all, it's greasy, it's moist, so even in this small pipe, I have never had smokes that were shorter than 1 hour in length, seriously. And it's a pretty nice achievement. So you can easily imagine how long it may last on a big bowl. The second thing is that it's better also from a nicotine point of view because you don't really get hit by, strong nicotine hit. It's much more manageable, and you can also have a few more bowls during the day. While if you only have a very big bowl, unless you are very used to smoke very high nicotine tobaccos, it's much more difficult. And at the end of the day, if you think about it, it really makes sense because if you are on a boat, it's windy, you're working, you're doing other things, you want a strong tobacco so that you can still feel the flavor. You don't want a complex tobacco because you don't have the attention and the time to put into it. And if you think about it, at that time, they were smoking small clay pipes, so that they were pretty much this kind of dimension. So you wanted a tobacco that was strong enough also to give you that nicotine that you wanted because you were addicted. But again, you were actually smoking in this kind of size of pipe. So it makes perfectly sense. And therefore, I really like it. It's a very average tobacco, average in the sense that it's not top notch because, again, it lacks in complexity, but it's very good. I mean, it's not a bad tobacco at all. It's very nice. If you want to have a simple tobacco, but simple in a positive sense, this is really what you want to have. It's a nice. I enjoy cutting slices from the plug. It's very enjoyable. I never got bored with this tobacco, even if again it's not a top-notch tobacco that you are amazed or blown away by all the different notes that you can find. And again, the topping is very light and very well made. So pretty good job then, tobacco. I now understand why it has such a good reputation. And I suggest to everybody who likes strong tobaccos and nicotine high tobacco to give it a try because you will like it as well. That's it. Let me know if you had the chance to try and what is your thought, what is your feedback about it. I'm very curious to read and see you next time. Stay safe, stay healthy. See you soon. Bye.